changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. Today, I'm going to share with you some stress-busting tips that I've picked up over the years from editing more than 10,000 Chicken Soup for the Soul stories. These are tips that work, and they don't require anything more from you than a change of attitude. That's what I like, tips that don't require you to make big changes or attend a seminar or write letters to yourself or do anything that will only add to your to-do list and thus your stress. I like these tips because you can accomplish them in 1 second just by telling yourself to think differently. So here we go. Tip 1, remember to use your positive thinking. My kids used to accuse me of what they called rationalizing, as if it were something dishonest, but what I was actually doing was making the best of things. Let's say you need to pick up some back-to-school stuff at the mall, and you have to park a quarter mile away from the mall at the farthest end of the parking lot. It's not rationalizing to say to yourself, oh, good, I didn't have time to exercise today, but now I'm forced to do what I meant to do anyway, and that is to get in a little walk. Making a conscious effort to find the positives in your life, to find the silver linings even in the everyday hassles, will make you feel better. It's not rationalizing, it's just plain rational. Now here's another tip. Count your blessings. You're busy because you have a lot of things going on, because your life is interesting and filled with people you care about and things you care about doing. I know that I personally am completely overwhelmed all the time by how much work I have to do. And then I add on more in the form of having people over for dinner or cleaning out a closet to donate stuff to the thrift shop or adding on the work of doing a podcast 5 days a week. Instead of focusing on how much you have to do, think about why you have all those things to do. You love what you're doing, whether it's a job or volunteer work or being a domestic goddess for your favorite people in the whole world, your family. Gratitude and thankfulness are scientifically proven to make people healthier and more popular. So remember, the reason you have so much to do is that you live a wondrous and full life. Here's my third tip. Say no. Really, you can say no. If you don't want to bake 5 dozen cookies for an event next week, say no. If your full and wondrous life is as full and wondrous as you can handle, then say no to some new thing that's being asked of you. I routinely say no when my husband, who is also my colleague at work, asks me to do something extra at home or at work. I just tell him that my head will explode, and he backs off. Tip 4, don't strive for absolute perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. I talk about that a lot because I've learned to be a realist. I know there are always a couple of typos lurking somewhere in each of our 400-page books, and as hard as we try to find them all, eventually we have to push the send button and get those files off to the printer. And I've learned to be the same way at home. I love to entertain, and we throw together lots of last-minute dinner parties, but I'll use paper napkins instead of cloth. I won't obsess over every part of the dinner, because the key is who's sitting around the table, not what's on the table. Tip 5, take care of yourself. Busy people seem to always put their tasks first. I'm not saying I'm great at this, but I try. And while I don't always take care of myself physically, i.e., get in my daily walks, the one thing that I'm adamant about is reading before I go to bed. I make a big point of stopping my work by 10 p.m. so that I can start slowing down for bed. And no matter how late I get in bed, even if we've been out at a party, I have to read before I can go to sleep. I'll use a Kindle or my phone to read an ebook so as not to bother my husband, or if he doesn't mind, I'll turn on the light and read something with paper pages. Tip 6, carve your to-do list into tiny pieces. This always works for me. I totally believe in looking at the trees, not the forest. In other words, don't think about the whole huge task in front of you. Break it into little, doable pieces and deal with them a little bit at a time. Do not look at the whole gigantic mess of a to-do list that you have. And while you're at it, why not delete a few items on that list, remembering that everything doesn't have to be perfect and that you have the right to say no. Okay, now that you're going to have less stress in your life, let's talk about adopting a dog. It will be August next week, Dogust in the pet adoption world. And tomorrow I'm going to share a couple of stories with you about dogs that sniffed out cancer in their owners, which will make you wonder who saved whom. I'm Amy Newmark, and I want to thank you for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast. To learn more about our books, the source for all these great tips, please go to our website, chickensoup.com.